Rigonga! What do you want? Have a little chat? Alright. It's not like we have anything better to do. Tell me about yourself. What is there to know? I was born. I'm alive. Haven't died yet. That enough for you? Do you remember your childhood? Rigonga scowls. What a crap question. I was just a kid when they sold me. Before that, I don't remember much. Smoky fire, stinky hides. Always bumping along on a horse. I think I was born in one of the Kelid tribes of Numeria. There are many. Some survive on their own, some give up their pride and serve the Technical League. I guess mine was one of the cowards, if they sold their own kids. Oder sie wurden alle getötet. Ja, Quaggi, dann gute Nacht, dann schlaf mal gut. Onkel Mara liest dir hier eine kleine Gute-Nacht-Geschichte vor. Dann kann Quaggi schön einschlafen. Schlafe, klein Quaggi, schlafe schön ein. Ich weiß ja nicht mehr, wie der Text überhaupt weitergeht. Deal. Das ist doch was. I remember my father's hands, rough, scarred, white. So I guess I get this green skin from my mother. But I don't remember her. I think I remember playing with another half-orc child. A brother, maybe. For some reason, they didn't sell him, just me. Father gave him his dagger to play with. Never gave it to me. I don't want to remember. Forget all this, I'm an orphan. Rigonga waves his hand wryly. I grew up a slave. That I remember well. So many things burned into my memory. Most of all, I remember her, my Octavia. Today we are almost the same age, but back then she was twice as young as me, just a child. But a brave one, cunning, bold, and beautiful, the most beautiful girl in the world. What deity do you worship? Ha! I never got much help from the gods so far, but if you make me choose, I'd say Callistria. Who else could I worship? The savored sting, the goddess of pleasure, fun and revenge, oh yes. Ich habe sein Alignment nicht gescheckt. Ich glaube, er ist böse. Where did you get your magical powers? What magical powers? The hells are you talking about? Oh, you mean these? Rigonga makes lightning run over his hands with a contented smile, then snaps his fingers, invoking a shower of blinding sparks. I've had them since I was born. At least one thing I can thank my scum parents for. Maybe these powers are why they sold me to slavery. Think they were scared? Who knows? Damn Numerians. At the Technical League they drew my blood, did experiments, burned me with fire, tortured me with cold, electricity. And they told me, you won't believe it, they told me I have a blue dragon blood in my veins. Not bad, huh? I'm a dragon, you freaks. Come check my blood if you dare. Grinning, Rigonga strikes his palm with a fist, and another fountain of electric sparks shoots upwards. What do your tattoos mean? They are magical. They help me control my powers. The Technical League gave them to me. I'd hoped that somewhere on my body there was at least one sign left by my tribe. But no. I guess they didn't care to bother. To hell with them. They better hope I never find them. If I ever meet my father, I will even score between us. How do you manage to use both a sword and magic, and not cut off your fingers? Hahaha. Simple. I'm just that bloody good. The half-orc gives a contented grin. Do you enjoy making people suffer? Pfft. Why should I care about their suffering? I do what I want. If I step on someone's toes, then they shouldn't have put themselves in my way. But chasing someone down just to torture them? That's only entertainment for maniacs like the Technical League. Well, on second thought, for them I would make an exception. I'd love to watch as I fry them nice and slow. But why do you ask? Do my methods shock you? Rigonga clenches his fist, buzzing with sparks, and laughs loudly at his joke. Neutral good. If you treat your enemies like that, what makes you better than them? And why would you think I want to be better? What does that even mean? I have no delusions of purity. I don't need to prove to myself or my enemies that I'm better than them. Morally, spiritually, whatever. I just want them rotting in the ground so I can live, drink wine, and piss on their graves. Fair point. Thank you for your answers. Thanks don't fill a purse. I'm just kidding. Tell me about your life in Numeria. You mean my life as a slave? I didn't see much, except for the slave barracks and the League's twisted laboratories. Well, jetzt haben wir eigentlich schon gefragt, how do you happen to become a slave? I was sold by my own tribe when I was just a little brat. So I grew up in a slave barracks. I was raised to be sold like a battle animal. They tried to break me, but they picked the wrong brat. No matter how much you beat this animal, he only gets angrier. Why did your masters teach you magic? Can't you guess? Because magic is in my blood. It's why they bought me. I wasn't raised as some lowly mob slave, but as a murder machine. I'd fetch quite a nice sum of gold. You might also ask if they knew I'd take the first opportunity to rip their own guts out, using everything they taught me. Ha! Of course they did, but that's the technical league. They calculate risk. Octavia kept pretending to be simple-minded, so they wouldn't expect anything of her, but I made every effort. Thought they didn't teach me much. But what is there to teach? It's not book magic, it's innate. They made me practice with my sword more, but I did my best in everything. I studied all I could. They knew they were raising an enemy, but they thought they could keep me on a short leash, or sell me to someone with deep pockets, so I'd become someone else's problem. But who won in the end, huh? Who is free? Who will bury them all? The half-orc makes an obscene gesture in the northwestern direction toward Numeria. What else did you see beyond your life in chains? What could I have seen? Well, when we ran, we went through Starfall. That's a fine city. Big, loud, many merchants, things to see, things to steal. But it didn't have much chance to walk around. It's the very nest of the sorting technically. We were focused more on getting out alive. Starfall. A city just as brutal and harsh as the unforgiving Numerian land that it is capital of. The place is a mockery of the soft capitals of the south, with a level of decadence which would put even Taldor to shame. This decadence is surrounded by the filthy reek of human misery. Here the black sovereign, Keveth Cool, rules all the whim of the Technic League, while the rest of the city suffers under his harsh rule. We met some barbarians. I asked them who might know what tribe I'm from, but they didn't know anything. I don't have any tribal tattoos, nothing. Actually, they are all right. Well, some of them. The blood pikes, for one, they are great. All the rivers are theirs. We sailed with them during one of our escapes, almost all the way to Brevoy, and they didn't turn us in. But the White Scars got us after that. Those guys are shit. They've sold their pride to the Technic League. Oh, one more thing. One time Octavia and I tried to escape and stumbled across a Numerian monster. I'll never forget it. A huge spider the size of a house, made of metal, spitting fire, shooting deadly rays all around. That thing could probably tear even a dragon to pieces. Ruined our escape plans too. We had to go back. Okay, did you and Octavia try to escape? What do you think? Of course we tried. I stopped counting how many times. Jumped from windows, dug tunnels, choked our guards, or seduced them. That happened too. Ha. But those dirtbags caught us every time. Every bloody time. My back is covered with whip scars. Lucky we were prized property. They'd spent too much gold on us to kill us. Anyone else would be hung and forgotten, but they kept trying to break us and recoup their expenses. I don't know whether I could have survived by sheer stubbornness if it weren't for Octavia. I probably couldn't have. I would have just given up and died, but I had to pull my girl out of that meat grinder, and she believed in me and had enough of hope for both of us. When I lay there with my back slashed to pieces, she whispered to me about the river kingdoms, where there's no slavery, where everyone can go wherever they want and take whatever they want. I'll be damned, but I thought she was just making this up to keep our hopes alive. And now it turns out to be true, all of it, every last word. No chains, no slaves, no laws, just live and be happy. Live and be happy. Is slavery legal in Numeria? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There are some laws against it, but even in Starfall, a third of the people live in bondage, and that's the capital. In regions where the Black Sovereign's hand doesn't reach, they hold the tribal customs instead of laws. The barbarians don't keep slaves, instead they have thralls. Big bloody difference. And on top of all that mess, there's the Technic League. Law and custom mean nothing to those slime balls. They just take whatever and whomever they want. Thank you for your answers. Wait, what kind of relationship do you have with Octavia? Well, my Octavia and I don't have a relationship. We have a life together. How did you mean? Back when we were children, we were taken as apprentices by a great spellmaster, Janish. Maestro Janish, he called himself. He was our teacher. Well, he made Octavia read books and memorize spells. I have my own innate magic. He trained me a bit, taught how to control my gifts so I wouldn't lose control and incinerate myself like a dumbass. Oh, teacher, we will meet again. There's one more test I must pass. But you were asking about my Octavia. We've been together all our lives. We learned everything together, how to weave magic and how to survive. And as we grew older, we learned how to love. Without each other, we would never have gotten out of there, that's for sure. We would have given up and surrendered to death. But together, that's a very different story. Not the first time and not the 10th, but eventually we made it out. Why do you call her yours? She doesn't seem like that very much. My girl loves freedom so much, and even a slight chance of losing it frightens her. She's so smart. You really think she feels like I'm trying to make her mine, like an apple stolen at a market? Me, who was skinned alive for trying to help her escape. If she's afraid of the word my, it's because she doesn't understand the difference between my boots and my heart, but she will understand sooner or later. Okay, ziemlich... Jetzt ein bisschen... Are you and Octavia faithful to each other? Octavia and I are connected, and this connection cannot be broken. We grew into each other, you know? Jealousy is for weak cowards, who don't trust each other and are scared of being tricked. If a knight on the side threatens your love, that just means there was no real love there to begin with. She and I are together to the end, and we will never part from each other. So when she likes some lad or some lass, it's no drama to me. I just ask her whether she wants me to leave them alone or join in. And she does the same, haha. What are you judging us? Or maybe you just want to join us in our tent, hmm? The half-orc grins. Is that an invitation? Well, then maybe I will. Is that so? Haha. Rigonga measures you with an openly lustful look. I will think about it. Thank you for your answers. What did you say when you were killing Kalana? What? Oh, that. Callistria's holy words. I stabbed thee with my heart. We say that when we get our vengeance. Those words make it so much sweeter. Okay, I have to go. So long. If you want to know anything else, just ask. Don't be shy. Just don't go pale when I answer. Okay, ich habe sein Alignment nicht gecheckt, aber er scheint, okay, chaotisch böse zu sein. Ja, das kam mir auch irgendwie so vor. Sie ist chaotisch gut. Okay. Vielleicht sollte ich dann lieber doch sie eher mit in meine Party nehmen. Weil ich werde schon eher... Ich bin schon eher gut unterwegs. Mal gucken. Vielleicht hält das eine Weile mit uns aus. Hello, Octavia smiles at you flirtatiously. Got any good news? Could you tell me about your childhood, please? Octavia sighs. Too little, some scraps of memories, no more than that. What exactly do you remember? Octavia reflects on that, taping her finger against her cheek. Nothing special. Some images of a faraway past, that's all. I do remember wooden table legs. The paint on them was peeling off, and I was standing on my toes trying to peek at what was on the table. I remember the wild rose by the window. It kept me up at night, scratching the glass with its gnarled branchlets. I do remember my mother's blue dress. It was a trifle battered, but it smelled of lavender. Octavia wrinkles her forehead. I guess that's all. Not much there, right? All those memories. It's like they are not mine at all. I recall some images, and I know I should feel something about them, but I don't remember what exactly I should feel. So let them rot in a swamp with tassel worms. Octavia grins cheerfully. My life's good enough without them. What do you know about your parents? You are a half-elf, right? Am I? Octavia examines herself, as if seeing herself for the first time. You know, I think you might be right. I'm rather slim and tall, and I can see well in dim light. She raises her hands and touches her ears. Aha! They are a bit pointy. Yes, I'm definitely a half-elf. Let's think about it that logically. So my mother was an elf, and my father was a human. Or maybe it was the other way around, and my mother was finally Octavia can't take it anymore and bursts into laughter, having spoiled her own act. So that's it. Now you know as much about my parents as I do, she says after her laughter subsides. Do you remember how you were enslaved? I clearly remember the man who took me away from my home. He was big, with a huge pot belly and shaggy beard. I was afraid he would eat me. Octavia shrugs. Anyway, he didn't stay with me long. He gave me to his slaver accomplices, and I never saw him again. When my mother was giving me to him, she was crying. I can still barely hear her quiet voice, but I can't recall her words or her face behind the tears. Just that lavender smell. It tickled my nose and I wanted to sneeze. Did my mother sell me into slavery? But then why was she crying? And if she didn't want me to be a slave, why didn't she try to save me? Octavia twirls her hair, pondering over the thought, then sighs. One more riddle from the past that I don't care to solve. It must be horrible being unable to recall your childhood. Oh, I recall my childhood in rather bright details. It was spent in dirty barracks. I wore flea-infested rags and slept on a straw mattress instead of a proper bed. Octavia smiles humorously. Though I understand what you mean. You know, to be honest, I'm not sure I want to remember my childhood before slavery. If I could remember what I lost, I would probably just bring me more pain. Octavia shakes her head several times and makes herself smile again. So it's good that I don't remember much of anything. I want to ask about something else. Will you tell me about your life in slavery? I don't like to recall it, but if you insist. Octavia frowns. The slavers from the Technic League tried to ruin my life, but all they could do was ruin my childhood. How did you happen to find yourself in the Stolen Lands? My enslavers from the Technic League funded a large expedition into the Stolen Lands. 100 agents, tens of slaves, wagons. We were to search for some ancient artifacts or ancient ruins. Octavia shrugs. Our group never made it to the Technic League hideout. Along the way it was attacked by the future owner of the Stolen Lands herself, and I'll be forever grateful to her for it. Octavia winks cheerfully. Did you have many masters over the years? Yes, many of them. Some owned me for years, others felt they had enough of me in a couple of months. Trust me, I did all I could to make every master eager to get rid of me. A slave that's trained in magic is a rather expensive thing, so they wouldn't kill me. At least that was the hope. So I drooled and played an idiot, and I listened as every new master argued with my former one, trying to return me. Sometimes I punctured the pages of magic books I was forced to copy with a quill. Other times I pretended to mix up the spells, so instead of lighting a magic torch, I set dozens of dancing lights floating just below the ceiling. Of course, most of these tricks of mine usually ended badly. I got punished on a regular basis. My back still remembers the master's whips, though all my scars from those times are long gone. Where did you learn to use magic? Oh, I was taught magic by Janusz of Starfall, one of the most famous wizards in Numeria. Maestro Janusz, as he insisted on calling himself. Octavia's voice overflows with contemptuous sarcasm. Anyone would be happy to learn from such a great master, and only a talentless bitch like me would dare to reject his teachings and indulge in her laziness. At least that's what Maestro Janusz used to repeat constantly while whipping knowledge into my back. The great Maestro was a big fan of punishment. Octavia's lips pressed into a thin line. The Technical League didn't care if a few slaves died under the master's whip, as long as Maestro Janusz provided an arcane-trained one in return. Officially, there's no slavery in Numeria, but the Technical League is above any law. A slave with an aptitude for the arcane is worth much more than a regular one. The slave's repertoire is limited to the simplest and safest spells, of course. Have you ever tried to run away? What a silly question. Of course I tried. As soon as we saw even the tiniest opportunity to get free, Rek and I grabbed for it. On one occasion, we jumped from the cart into the river. There was a time when we spent weeks trying to dismantle the far wall of the barracks and make a path out. Sometimes we attacked our guards when they least expected it. We craved freedom. We lived only to dream about it. Those short days, sometimes weeks, that we spent on the run were the happiest days of my life. We used to hide in the woods or blend in with the crowd on the streets of Starfall. Midnight stars were our guiding lights, and we shared our dream with them, to reach the river kingdoms. For in these lands there were neither slaves nor masters. We were starving and freezing, but that was the real life. Too bad it usually ended too soon. The Technical League agents always found us in the end. I don't know how they managed to do it. They probably used magic, or maybe it was just our fate. They whipped us and returned us to our old masters, or sold us to new ones, if the old ones refused to pay. So we were slaves again, but the dream about the river kingdoms never left our hearts. Have your masters ever heard you? Yeah. You figured that out, didn't you? Octavia narrows her eyes. Or maybe you want to hear all about the beatings I survived, the humiliations I've endured. Imagine the worst thing one person can do to another, and multiply it in tenfold. That's what happened to me nearly every day in slavery. Masters. Oh, how I hate that word. Octavia shakes her head furiously, making her locks dance. They punished me because they wanted to hurt me. But what hurt even more was the mere fact of their existence. Okay, something else. Octavia stops you, gently touching your hand. Wait, I want to tell you. She sighs and shakes her head, as if trying to collect her thoughts. The Technical League agents you rescued us from, Reg and I tried to run away many times, but they always managed to find us eventually. I have no reason to hope that this time they have lost track of us for good. Cody, good? I won't let those filthy slave traders to take you again. Just let them try. Yeah. Yes! We'll chase them to the border. We won't see them through the dust. Suddenly she frowns in contemplation, twirling her locks. Still, I'd like to find them first. Alright, we talk later. Okay, das ist jetzt doch erstmal ziemlich viel Text auf einmal. Und es ist schon spät. Deswegen würde ich hier erstmal an der Stelle für heute Schluss machen. Und beim nächsten Mal werden wir uns noch eingängig unterhalten mit Octavia und mit Tristian, der auch noch hier unserer Gruppe dazu gestoßen ist als Neuling. Der wird sicher auch noch mal einiges zu sagen haben. Und bis dahin wird sich meine Stimme noch mal erholen können. Gut. Dann beenden wir das hier an der Stelle. Und Quaggi, falls du noch wach bist, wünsche ich dir eine gute Nacht. Falls du schon eingeschlummert bist, dann wünsche ich dir süße Träume. Bis wir uns dann demnächst die Tage mal wieder sehen. Dann macht's gut. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao und auf Wiedersehen.